123 Stealth Bomber here, bringing you another tutorial for Men of War Assault Squad 2's Gem Editor. And today, this is part 2 of the Quickie tutorial series. And this tutorial will help you for preparing for your mod, first multiplayer mod. And this time, it's going to cover on how to make mini maps for your multiplayer maps, or for maps in general. Um, it's a completely optional tutorial. You don't need a mini-map to use it for a mod, but it's highly recommended so you know what's going on, and especially like this, since I have no mini-map for this map, it it just looks like it's really confusing. It just looks like a mess, pretty much. So today we're going to focus on that. Um, so this video is going to be quite long, so make sure you paused parts or you rewind parts or watch it again because this tutorial is going to be quite long. Getting mini maps to work are easy, but it's just that there's a lot of steps involved. So let's jump right in. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is load the map in F2 mode. As of right now, I have it loaded in F3. So if you haven't already, load the map in F2 because we're going to need it for this part of our tutorial um, in order for this to work. So now we just waiting for it to load up in F2. Okay, so once you have it loaded in F2, there's no scripting, no units, there shouldn't be. If you did, make sure you get rid of them. So the first thing we're going to want to do is get rid of any things that are popping up on the minimap's icon. So for example, these things where my mouse are, anything like these, you want to get rid of. So this little trailer right here, I want to get rid of it. And the reason for why we're getting rid of these icons in the map is because once we take the picture, it's going to load these small icons as well if we just keep them here. So let's say if these things are destroyed, well then they'll still be here even though they are destroyed because remember you're technically overlapping it um, and it's technically telling what it used to look like when the map's here. So you want to make sure the map is completely clean of vehicles, cannons, tanks, anything that like that you have. So this tractor, anything that comes up with an icon you want to get rid of. And don't worry, you are not saving the map. So just get rid of them for this time being. You are not going to be saving this. So this is just for taking a picture of your map. Um, so these trucks that are hiding in these hangars, you want to get rid of these or things that like that come up as an icon. And again, another trailer right here. I want to get rid of as well. Okay, so now you've cleared, once you cleared everything off your map, you want to go to your clips. So just like what I had for a couple of tutorials before, it was on boundaries and clips. Um, this one, and pretty much what we're going to do here is what you're going to do is go to your presets on auto, if you have one, and pretty much going to move them outside your map. Again, we are not saving this instance of this map, so do not worry. Essentially, what you're doing here is when we take the map of, the picture of the map, you want to make sure they're outside of the map because if you take the picture and they're inside the map like they're supposed to be, then you're going to be seeing these yellow, purple, and blue and green lines, and you don't want to. And pretty much the only way to get rid of that by that point is to, pretty much use a program to get rid of it by like editing it out and stuff. So, and to save all your troubles, instead of doing that way, just move them out of the map's boundaries, pretty much. You want to move them way out of there. Um, so I'm just gonna try to move them if I can. Hold on, there we go. So I'm gonna do this to all four sides, so it makes it a lot easier for me. So these won't come up when we take the picture. Well, they will, but they won't be inside the map itself. Because what we're gonna do is when we start loading this image into a program, we're going to essentially crop the image so all this stuff outside, like all this blackness, will be gone. So, um, yeah, so now, okay, so this side's all set as well. So once you did that, you can go back, pretty much you're going to now click off where it says clip camera position. So check this off, and essentially what this does is it keeps your camera in sync. So if you had it checked on where you can't go higher than your normal for a camera when you're playing the regular game. If you check this off, this allows you to zoom in or zoom out pretty much infinitely. And what you're going to do is once you check it off, zoom out as far as you can. So you want to zoom out until you see your entire map. Um, so keep zooming out, and if you don't have a good PC, I would suggest lowering your graphics just for this one point because it's going to get laggy, especially like as you can see right here. I mean, I have a good PC, but since there's so many objects, there's just so much to load in one. By looking at it all at once. So you want to make sure if you have a low on PC, it's going to lag for you. I suggest lowering your graphics or whatever to make sure it doesn't crash your editor or whatever the case may be, because it's going to happen regardless, even if you do have a very good PC. Um, so now what we're going to do is once we zoomed out, we're going to pretty much face our camera north position. So why are we doing it this way is because if we take the picture in another direction, if we take it east, west, or south, what will happen is when we load it back into the maps folder, excuse me, um, it'll put the map backwards. So make sure it has to be north. Pretty much that's like the norm. That's the zero position. Pretty much, that's like the normal default position. If you put it south, so how do you know in the direction you're facing? Well, in the mini map, as you could see, there's these little icons, N for north, S for south, E for east, and W for west. Pretty much, you want to face your camera towards the north position. Now for Men of War Assault Squad and Men of War Assault Squad 2, your mini map will have these little indications telling you which way is facing which. However, the older Men of Wars, for example, original Men of War, does not have this feature. So if you're working on a mini map for the original Men of War, how do you know which way you're facing? Well, it's complete trial and error. You're going to have to pretty much try all four ways, which kind of sucks, but I think that's why the developers did it. So when they're making their mini maps, they just put like a north, south, east, and west, so you kind of know which way you're going. Because technically, when you're playing this game, you don't really need to care about direction. So um, I think this is a reason why they added it in, so it makes it easier for when you're facing north. So make sure you always face the camera north. Now, what I have here is you want a complete top-down of the map. So make sure you zoom out all the way so you can see from end to end of the map, and you want to make sure you are completely top down. Not, for example, something like what I have my camera as of right now, this is not acceptable. You want to make sure it's completely straight top down as I have it right now, because as you can tell, when you load up like a regular map that has a mini map, you'll notice it kind of looks exactly how we have it right now. Am I right? So you want to pretty much, you're taking a picture straight down at 90-degree angles going straight down. Um, and yeah, that's really all I have for you. Again, another thing I want to mention is you want to make sure it's completely lined up. If, for example, if I just rotate my camera, how it's on an angle, again, that's also going to be kind of unacceptable, because when you're going to bring the photo into like some program, it's going to be kind of hard to crop the image because it's on an angle. So the easiest way to do it is just line it so it's perfectly 90 degrees, with the camera and the map. So make sure it's as best as you can. You're not going to get it perfect, but try and get it as close as you can get. So how I have it right here is pretty much good. If it's off a little bit, I'm not going to worry too much because this is just an example for a tutorial. So I'm not going to go crazy. So when you're all set with all this stuff, you can take your picture with the Steam integration picture taking feature, and you do that by pressing F12 on your keyboard. So it'll say at the bottom right, Men of War Assault Squad 2, screenshot, saved. And we are all done with the editor, so when you're done, you can just exit out. And again, you do not have to save this, so you can just, when it says you want to save it, you can hit no. Okay, now we're on our desktop here, and you're gonna wait for your screenshot uploader to load up. If it doesn't load up, you can find it in the files, or there's probably something on here where you can find your photos. I believe there is. I don't know. You would have to look around, but for the most part, when you exit a game, it'll show all the pictures that you've taken in that one session while you're playing. And you want to only select one picture. If you've taken multiple instances of this picture, I would try and focus on the best one that you've taken. So yeah, like for example, mine, I only taken one, so pretty much what you want to do is select the image. Alright, so select the image that you want and hit show on disk. So when you hit show on disk, it's going to bring up the file location on where these pictures are stored inside Steam. So what you're going to do is just click the image that you want and drag it to your desktop. Okay, and then pretty much you can get rid of that, get rid of all that stuff. So now we have our image on the main desktop. So now what we need to do is pretty much edit this photo. So I'm going to be using a program called Photoshop. I don't know what you guys are going to be using, but in my case, I'm going to be using Photoshop, and pretty much I'm going to open it. If you don't have Photoshop, you can. There's probably other programs that allow you to edit a photo. All you're really doing here is taking this photo and cropping the image so you can get rid of all that unnecessary stuff that's on the sides of the image. So if you don't have like if you don't have Photoshop, there's probably others like maybe Windows Live Photo Gallery. I don't have no idea because I've really never used that program, but I don't think it can. But like I said, Photoshop is probably the best idea. But like I said, there's probably others out there that allow you to do this as well. So open up your image, whatever program you're using. Now, if you are using Photoshop, you can follow along. If not, then you're just going to pretty much do what you have to do in order to crop an image in that program that you're using. But for the people who do own Photoshop, pretty much you're going to click on the background and make it a new layer. You're going to make another layer as well, and pretty much what you're going to do is click on the main layer and use the selection tool, and you're going to drag a box pretty much around the map. So yeah, that should be good. And see how I didn't perfectly align it 90 degrees? As you can see, it's kind of hard to make a selection around it. That's okay. I can still, use the selection tool to get rid of some extra excess stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna Control X to cut that picture out, and I'm gonna pretty much delete the rest of this because I don't need the excess around of this image. And pretty much I'm gonna paste it into the new layer. So as you can see, all this extra black on the sides. Now what you can do is if you're in Photoshop or your other programs, you can pretty much go in and do some detailing work by getting rid of that unnecessary wanted stuff. And I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to go crazy on it, but I'm going to try and do the best I can, kind of just for the demonstration purposes. I'm going to try and get as best as I can to it. So I'm kind of doing this a little fast just for demonstration purposes. But you're going to when you make in your own mini map, you want to try and do as best as you can so it makes it look nice, so it doesn't look like it was kind of gypped and just kind of like makeshifted. You want to make it kind of look professional. So I'm gonna try and get rid of all this as much as I can. All right, I'm almost done here. All right, that should be good. I teared off a little bit of extra, but that's okay. So now what we did was we've created pretty much its own thing. The rest of the image that was taken is pretty much all gone. So, but we're still not done here yet. What we want to do is see this entire rest of this image since it was the original size of the image that it was. If we save it, it's going to pretty much make it a loose, like pretty much have a white background. That's if you make it into a JPEG. But if you make it into a PNG, you'll still have a looseless background. You'll have an alpha channel on. So a transparent background that for that matter. But to get rid of, since it's still extremely small to the original size, what we're going to do is we're going to hit File New. And pretty much when you hit File New on Photoshop, it automatically takes the same size of this image, and you're just going to hit OK. And it'll like pretty much take the dimensions of this new image. And as you can see now, it's the same exact dimensions of that new image that we just inserted. So we could pretty much take this image and copy it into and paste it into this new file. And there we go. So yeah, it's gonna, like I said, since I cropped a little bit using some of the selection tool to delete that extra stuff, it's gonna be a little bit you're gonna see a little bit of white, but not too much. It won't be as bad. So when you're finally, so now we can get rid of this old one. Okay, so now when you're completed with this, you're going to go to your file and hit Save As. And you're going to save it to your desktop. It doesn't matter what you call it. I'll just call it Minimap for now. And you don't want to hit Save As right away, because when in Photoshop, for example, it'll try and save it as a PSD. What you want to do is save it as a JPEG, or you can even save it as a PNG file as well. But JPEG is probably your go-to for that. So well, I'm going to choose JPEG, and I'm just going to save it to the desktop. Okay, now we're still not done. So if I open it, it's gonna just have it like this, which is fine. But we're still not done here. What we need to do is finally open this up and transfer it into a new file format called DDS. DDS is pretty much another file format for images that Men of War can read. And DDS is specifically made for using and making mini maps. So if you looked in the files, other missions people have made or developer maps, you'll see a .dds as their mini map. Well, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to transfer this JPEG into a DDS file. So in order to do that, you need a specific program, and it's called DXT-BMP. So I'm going to open this up. Now, if you don't have DXT-BMP, I suggest you do get it. It's free. Trust me, there's no viruses, because I've been using it for quite a while now. But I'm still learning it, so I'm kind of new to it. So forgive me if I make some mistakes. I'm still fairly new to this, but DXT-BMP. The reason why we need this is because this is pretty much one of the only programs that can convert an image to a DDS file format. So I'm going to open up that JPEG file that we've created from our Photoshop. I'm going to open it. And okay, so as you can see there, it'll open up in here. And all I'm going to really do is just going to go File, Save As, and then it'll be right there, DDS Texture. Again, I'm going to save it to the main desktop. And what I'm going to do is it's already there for me, but I'm going to type it in again. You need to call it Minimap, and then when you hit save, it'll just put .dds. If you call it anything else, I believe it won't work. It won't register it as an actual minimap file. So make sure you call it minimap. You make sure it's spelled correctly and all that stuff, and then .dds. So when I hit save, you'll notice it's going to create a new file format. And for some of you that have gone into the file locations, you're going to remember, you might actually remember this file format, like the icon, how it has like a picture and it has like a picture inside the piece of paper. So yeah, this is exactly what we're going to need. So now what we can do is just drag this DDS file into our file location. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is go to our file location. So I'm going to open up my file. And I'm going to scroll down to Program Files 86. I'm going to scroll down from here and search for Steam. Now, once I'm in Steam, I'm going to look for Steam Apps, then Common, and pretty much all this is all your games, pretty much for your Steam library. So, yeah, so we're searching for Men of War Assault Squad 2. Now, if you're doing it in the other Men of Wars, obviously you're going to want to click them on here, but in my case, I'm going to be using Men of War Assault Squad 2. Now since this map is not in a mod, it's under my resource folder, so it's not in a mod, so I'm gonna go to resource, then map, and then co-op 0_01, because that's where I have the map located. If it's in a mod, then you would go to mods folder, and then you would search for the map for there. So where I went from mine, it does depend on where you save this map to. So pretty much now we have our map folder location, and I can take the minimap.dds and just drag into right into this folder. And that's really about it. So we can close. Actually, I'll minimize this for now. I'm going to close out of DXT and close out of Photoshop as well. And let's load it up in the Men of War Assault Squad 2 editor. And when you load it up, now you put it into the file location it's automatically going to be there no matter if you load it in F2 or F3. It should automatically pop up when you load it up. I'm going to load it up in F3 for my case. And we're just going to wait for it to load up here. Okay, and there you go. So, as you can see, the map is correctly aligned. As you can see, remember how we had that white outline. Let me hold on 1 sec. Let me just adjust the size of it so you can see a little bit better. All right, so wait, hold on 1 more second. Management. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as you can see right here, it made the size of this mini map correct to the actual size of the mini map that we've created it as. You'll see those white outlines because remember how I was a little sloppy with it. Again, when you're going to be making your own mini map, you're going to try and make it as best as possible. And yeah, that's really about it. It's correctly facing north. Everything's in pretty much the correct position. Like for example, let's go to these guys over here, and pretty much they're in the exact correct position as they were. And even when I select a guy and he's all, he, moves correlating to the mini map. And yeah, that's really about it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this rather long tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed it, liked it, and favored it, all that stuff. If you have any questions or comments or concerns about this, let me know. Put it in the comments down below. If you want to contact me to my email, my Facebook, my Steam, I'll have all that stuff in the link, all the links in the description so you can contact me through there. And as well as I'll also put up all the download links if you want to download Photoshop or DXT. I'll have those up in the description as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my video, and I will see you guys next time.